So the Rolex Explorer is a great watch. I mean, Adrian will keep reminding us of that. It's a bit sporty, it's a bit formal. It's sort of like the Mona Lisa of watch dials. But in a divided world where some people either can't or won't get a Rolex, we have to turn elsewhere. And that's why we need to take a hard look at the Tudor Ranger. Hey guys, I'm Max and this is Watch Crunch. Too much yelling at ye old watch forum? Check out watchcrunch.com, a more civilized place to talk watches. So these days you either love Rolex or you hate Rolex. Well, I'm somewhere in between. I like the Rolex Explorer for a long time, but the Explorer is not perfect. For one, I was hoping Rolex would strike a medium between 36 and 39 millimeters, but they went all the way back to the original formula. Now, this might be blasphemy, but I think 36 is just a bit small for this watch. If a Datejust is 36 and a sub is 41, then to me, 37 to 38 would just make sense for the Explorer. It'll let the style breathe a little bit and make it feel just a little more sporty on the wrist, especially with this new skinny clasp. Nevertheless, I like the Explorer. I liked the Explorer when it was trading at $4,000. I liked it a little bit less when new ones were retailing over $7,000, but now I'm just scratching my head because new ones are trading at over $10,000. You know, you can build a whole collection at that price or buy like a quarter of a Bitcoin. So naturally, the next question is, what are the alternatives? Now, this question has come up a couple of times recently on Watch Crunch, and the contenders that get thrown around include the Zen 556, the Omega Aquaterra, sometimes the Railmaster, and even some Grand Seikos. But one seemingly forgotten Rolex Explorer alternative has to be the Tudor Ranger. Now, the Ranger has always been something of a black sheep in the Tudor family. It seems that this watch, and in some ways the North Flag, both just couldn't get a lot of traction. And that might be why both watches have been discontinued after a 6-year production run around 2020. And to me, this adds to the mysticism of these watches. So, for example, if you see someone wearing a Black Bay 58, you're like, cool watch, bro. But if you see someone wearing a Tudor Ranger, you know that's a watch guy or gal. I'm trying to figure out why people didn't buy the Ranger, and I think the biggest reason comes down to the size. I mean, when I first heard the case diameter of 41 millimeters, I immediately wrote this watch off. But that was until I tried one on at my AD. No, it wasn't in the display case, it was on his wrist. And that's what I mean about watch guys liking this watch. Now, to my surprise, it didn't wear like a 41 millimeter watch. I thought it might have even wore better than the 39 millimeter Explorer. And that comes down to the 12 millimeter thickness along with very slim lugs, making it hug even my 6.5 inch wrist without overhanging it. And once you get over that 41 millimeters on paper, you get to see all the reasons why this watch is a little charmer. So much like the Explorer's 369 dial, the Ranger takes a very similar formula, trading the triangle at 12 for Arabic numerals. Now, field watches tend to use all Arabics, and by dropping 8 of them and replacing them with hash marks, you immediately get something that's more elegant and less, trenchy. And if you don't care for the Mercedes hand, the hour hand here is replaced with a very unique but simple shovel shape. I've also heard this called an arrow tip or a spade hand. In any case, the flare comes in the form of a red second hand with a trapezoidal tip. But this red is not a bright red, it's what I would call more of a rusty raspberry color, if raspberries rusted. And instead of the glimmering gold surrounds found on the Explorer, the hour markers are painted on, albeit precisely, giving the whole package a very vintagey feel. Guys, please take a second, drop a like for this video, and thank you if you've subscribed to the channel. It really does help. So how far back does the Ranger line go? Probably back further than you or I realize. The Rolex Explorer 1016 was born in 1959. Just a decade later, the first Tudor Ranger came about in 34mm form, 2mm shy of its big brother. Though the Ranger doesn't claim to have the rugged history of going up to the top of the tallest mountain in the world, I mean, we all knew the Explorer didn't actually do that either. But the story goes that Tudor had sent about 30 oyster princes on a British expedition to Greenland in the 50s. And through the signature magic marketing wand of Hans Wilsdorf, that became the genesis story of the Tudor Ranger. The Ranger, in many ways, is actually a better modern rendition of the 1016 than even the Explorer has become. Note more vintage cues like the use of the Tudor rose on the dial, as well as what collectors call the smiley text of the rotor self-winding at 6. A box sapphire crystal sits just proud of the case, and most of this case is brushed, but there is a subtle polished edge along the bottom of the bezel. It's a really nice touch. The one that I have here comes on a bracelet. Now, one curiosity is the use of open end links. It's vintage looking, you might say, but don't forget that even early Tudor Rangers used closed end links. Nevertheless, I really enjoy Tudor bracelets. This watch has the classic oyster style links that feels solid. There's no jiggles or rattles. It's sized with screws and terminates in a milled buckle that has 3 holes for adjustment and ceramic bearings for long life. Other versions also shipped with bund straps as well as a single pass camo strap. So I guess when Tudor came up with the name Ranger, they had in mind guys in berets instead of cowboy hats. Powering the Ranger is an ETA 2824, but not straight off the shelf. It beats at a familiar 4 Hz with the standard 38 hours of power reserve, but it's gotten the full Tudor treatment, including modifications to the balance and replacement of the standard Inca block for something with added durability and anti-shock attributes. And this is all sealed under a closed caseback. The Tudor Rose makes a second appearance in the big crown with deep knurlings that make handling it a pleasure, and it screws down to give a healthy 150 meters of water resistance. So I picked up this watch for about $2,500, and that price, I feel like it's high on the list of Rolex Explorer alternatives. When I posted a picture of the Tudor Ranger on WatchCrunch, people seem to have a very positive reaction, but the consensus seems to be that we would love to see this watch make a comeback, maybe a couple of millimeters smaller with one of those new in-house movements, and that's it. I would be first one in line to buy one of those. By the way, if you haven't checked out WatchCrunch, we have a wonderful growing community of watch lovers on there, and we would love to hear your opinion. So I'll put a link in the pinned comments below. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.